And we're just waiting on that green light. It's Me More Monday.
I really like this intro, but I almost feel like it needs goofy, like nonsensical Dadaism sort of music behind it.
I'll get right on that. All right. So it's Me More Monday. Typically on Me More Monday, what we talk about is recent memes, the zeitgeist, and the culture wars, the meme war, as it were. Because, well, the meme war is the way that we win without having to go full Boogaloo. And so this morning, for your viewing pleasure, presented, at least for a moment, without comment.
Yeah, this is not the Babylon Bee. This is, Chris and I were talking. Yes, Greta, how dare I? Chris and I were talking. What's hysterical about this is it could just be its own meme if it weren't reality. Like, this is something some shitlord could post, and you'd be like, oh, yeah, haha. But no, it actually happened in actual reality.
Yeah. So, oh, so yeah, this chick.
How dare you?
Is the Time Person of the Year. Just go ahead and strap in because I'm going to do this.
How dare you?
A lot today.
Well, let me just go ahead and run down the obvious points.
The
just
obvious points?
Well, oh dear. Oh dear, dear, dear. I like how that references previous Me More Monday.
Oh, yeah. I mean, self-referential. Huh? Yeah. The obvious points.
Wow. Wow. I haven't seen that one. That's rough right there. But Greta hasn't done anything apart from skip school and give an angry speech. And I'm not saying that there's not a time and a place, because there almost always is. But I mean, she hasn't done anything. The popular meme I've seen passed around the internet is sometimes Time nominates an amalgam of people as the person of the year. So why not nominate? Wow, wow, that's rough right there. Anyhow, yeah. So why not nominate the Hong Kong protesters? And then even if they want to be like politically correct and female empowerment, some woman just made prime minister at 34, and they don't nominate her either. I thought part of being the person of the year is you had to, like, accomplish something. And Greta has literally accomplished nothing. Her parents, despite being leftist socialist sleazeballs, they capitalized on her by writing a book about her years ago, about what it was like to have a child with autism. And I won't go into too much detail about it for obvious reasons, but the autism is something that has touched my family personally, and the fact that you would monetize autism, okay, that tells me a whole lot about your personality. And again, time and a place, like, you could write a book about what it's like to have a child with autism. That's appropriate. But still, the way everything has shook out, I don't think it was done for purely altruistic reasons. I'll say that.
It's awfully convenient that Greta's particular brand of autism specifically defends her against criticism.
Yes, yes. And in particular, her type of autism makes it so that she is unable to answer questions, except for when she goes on The Daily Show and she can answer questions from Trevor Noah. For some reason, gosh, that's odd. Hmm. Hmm. Also, she's autistic enough to be autistic, but not so autistic she doesn't vape lock when given a speech in front of a room full of world leaders. Like, that would be an intimidating thing. There's that old Jerry Seinfeld joke about how public speaking is the number one fear and death is the number two fear. So most people would rather be in the casket as opposed to giving the eulogy at a funeral. Um, Autistic people, by and large, have difficulty controlling their emotional responses to things. They're just slightly off from how you or I would react to things. And you or I, well, not Chris or I, because we have big giant egos and we thrive on attention. But the vast majority of us would be nervous as hell giving a speech to the UN. And so you're telling me a teenager with autism was able to just give a speech in a language that wasn't even their first one and everything just came across fine? Well, nah, sorry, I don't buy that. That speech was rehearsed. Somebody helped her write it, probably her parents again. I mean, and that's what this really comes down to. She is the puppet. Like that's why that Yoda meme stings so bad.
Yeah.
So,
and yeah, I pulled this up from the IndianExpress.com had it. But in the polls, it was the Hong Kong protesters by 89%. And then the rest of the 11% of votes went for Donald Trump and Caitlyn Jenner, I think. Which didn't he already get it?
hey, it's a thing. Hey, see, I'm a beautiful lady now. You gotta.
Yeah, that's how things work. Yeah, that's exactly how things work.
Hang in there, Greta. Hang in there.
I mean, this is something worth talking about.
Well, because there's a couple of things there that are worth talking about. As a country goes through an industrial revolution, they do go through a period where they pollute. Like it's almost impossible to take a nation like India, which is one of the biggest polluters in the world. Well, they've got millions and millions and millions and millions of people in that country, that need electricity and stuff like that. And the most efficient way to do that at this point in an industrial development perspective is by burning coal. And if you got millions and millions and millions of people, you're going to burn a lot of coal. And then you've got China, who, like, the stereotypical thing is, oh, corporations don't care. They'll just dump textiles in the river. They don't give a shit about you. Except corporations don't do that a whole lot anymore unless they're a Chinese corporation. And then it's just a thing. Like the rest, what was it, the Beijing Olympics 2012? I don't remember the exact year. But like the athletes got off the plane and they were wearing like gas masks and particle masks and stuff like that because they didn't want to breathe any more of the pollution than they had to. And for some reason, the athletes that just wanted to protect their lungs were the bad guys, not China for having a city with so much air pollution. It's got like a permanent fog at all times. No, no. Hey, notifications aren't working for anybody, Gavin. It's a funny thing. Though, ironically, I bet if we were a stupid liberal cuck channel, your notifications would work Just a
Yeah,
guess.
totally.
Just a guess.
Go subscribe to the Young Turks. I bet you'll never miss a notification.
Hey, speaking of them, you know Bernie Sanders has unendorsed Chunk Uyghur?
No, Chunky Uyghur got dissed by communism.
Yeah, go figure. Go figure. Oh, and he totally had no idea that the name the Young Turks could be interpreted a certain way. He just thought it was like, one of those things. Didn't realize there was this whole historical context. I mean, despite having a nephew named Hassan Piker.
Yeah.
Like,
Ooh, good God, is he a piece of garbage. But let's get back to the story at hand. Okay. One more thing I want to talk about with Greta. There you go. No accomplishments, no practical solutions. Said, how dare you? 176 million Google results. Boyan Slat. You probably haven't even heard of this kid. Have you heard of this kid, Cameron?
I've heard of this kid.
Okay. Yeah, he invented an ocean plastic cleanup system at 16. It doesn't require that we adopt socialism. In fact, quite the opposite. And nobody's looking him up.
Well, that's the thing. This is not really about environment. The environmental movement is the watermelon movement. They're green on the outside, but red on the inside. And by that I mean, yeah, they're communists, is what they are. And if you go back and you listen to Greta's entire speech, and I did a couple of times because I wanted to be educated on it, the speech is really all about anti-capitalism. There's a few lines thrown in here and there about your fairy tales of endless money and economic growth. And that is, in a nutshell, what this is about. Because the whole carbon tax thing that is kind of the end goal for guys like Al Gore, like, it doesn't actually reduce pollution. Instead, it just allows Wall Street to control the value of puffs of smoke that you trade back and forth like a commodity on the open exchange. And gosh, that doesn't sound like a good way to stop pollution at all. But yeah, Gavin, you're right. They're commies, and it's what they are. And I'm not saying every single environmental activist is a commie, but the form that it has taken, like the Greenpeace founder, that dude was a socialist. Makes you wonder. It just
and
makes
he
you
says
wonder.
Greenpeace has gone too left for him.
Yeah. Ooh. But don't kid yourself. The whole thing about the environmental movement and all of the stuff with climate change and all of that, it is a backdoor to hamstring capitalism. That is exactly what it is.
And we're going to end up doing a show hopefully soon. I want to talk about the idea of late stage capitalism, because there is such a thing as late stage capitalism. And I'm going to explain what that is, but spoiler alert, basically late stage capitalism is when capitalism has been so grossly efficient and effective that it has created a world where you are so free and so wealthy and at such leisure that you have time to screw it all up. Late stage capitalism is what happens when you allow your capitalism to be influenced by communism. Capitalism is actually a flawless system. The only flaws that ever exist in the system of capitalism are those which are artificially created by government.
Yeah. Oh, see, Gavin gets it. Oh, absolutely not all of them are commies. But a lot of them say, hey, let's save the world. And on the backside, they're trying to get a lot of people together on their side to make the U.S. a communist regime.
Yeah, basically, the whole green movement, the whole Save the Planet movement.
The watermelon movement.
The whole watermelon movement. It's the same every time you hear a politician, even on the right, every time you hear a politician say it's for the children, you should be suspicious.
Yes,
The only time you should be suspicious of a politician saying that we should do something to save the children is when that politician's opposition is actively endorsing the intentional harm of children.
Well, there's a concept in law, and since I am not a lawyer, I don't know the name of it, but it's basically when you do an appeal to emotion as opposed to trying the fact of the case itself.
Oh, that's
And
not a concept in law. That's a basic philosophical fallacy. And it
it
is
is a
an appeal to emotion.
yes, I recognize that, but it's been further codified in law. It's Viva La Fray actually did a video about it and got me smart on it, and then of course I just forget the name of the concept. But in short, when somebody goes for an appeal to emotion, especially when there's facts at hand to be discussed, it's because they don't think the facts are the strongest way to argue their case. They think the appeal to emotion is the strongest way to argue its case. If it were such that we could just have, quote unquote, cleaned up the environment and have renewable energy with almost zero emissions and all that, if it was fact that that could happen, the left would have won this argument already, because who's really going to say no to that if they're presented with facts? So it's, no, here's how it will work. It will take 5 years, and we will have been able to have converted 80% of the world's energy needs over to magical fairy dust that does everything you need it to do and doesn't pollute. Nobody's going to say no to that. Maybe even if it has increased cost associated with it, that might be something that a reasonable person would be willing to pay extra for obvious reasons. However, there is no magical fairy dust. We don't have the matter-antimatter reactions from Star Wars yet. Star Trek. Oh, bad Cameron. From Star Trek yet. So they have to appeal to emotion. Think of the children, think of the birds, think of the seals, think of the polar bears, and all that other tripe. Because it's not real. It's communism, buddy. They just want to hamstring capitalism. And yeah. Oh, Gavin, good Lord. Maybe we need to have you on the show. The U.S. is full of people who have no balls.
So sprout a sack, America. We've got work to get done.
I saw a fantastic meme that was people on the right create good times create people on the left create hard times, and hard times create people on the right.
Well, Gavin, do you want the Boogaloo? Because these bitches are asking for the Boogaloo. German railway company corrects Thunberg's tweet and on overcrowded trains. So this is what we're going to close on. Just this is the kind of person that she is. So Thunberg has a crap load of followers on Twitter. I'm sure I could look it up pretty quickly, but you know, she has I think several 100,000 or possibly a few million followers on Twitter. So what she'll do here's one example. She'll tweet negative comments about a service provider at the service provider, knowing that the immediate response will be that the service provider will try and do something about it. So a couple days ago, Friday, she tweeted out this photo of her sitting on the floor on a train with a bunch of baggage next to her. Now, it's probably all her baggage. And the railway, the railroad issued an apology and yada yada yada. Turns out she was actually in first class. And when the railroad figured this out, it added this to its tweet. It would have been even nicer if you had also reported how friendly and competently our team served you at your seat in first class. And so she pops back and responds, "This is no problem, of course, and I never said it was. Overcrowded trains is a great sign because it means the demand for train travel is high." Except, here's what she did. She tweeted this picture of herself next to all this luggage and a complaint about overcrowded trains. She did this because she knows that she can abuse the system. She can abuse her celebrity and demand special treatment.
So she is ascended.
Yeah.
She is full-blown limousine liberal.
Exactly. There you go. There you go. Single-use plastic everything, except for the water bottles. And there you go.
Yes, Gavin, this is in
And
Germany.
so, Greta, to you I say,
How dare you?
So she's full-blown leftist. She's an absolute hypocrite. Do as I
Oh,
say,
yeah.
not as I do.
oh yeah. It's, and that's all I've got for you today, boys and girls.
Yes, me as well. Wake the hell up. Go the hell to work. And as Gavin pointed out, maybe sprout a sack.
Yeah. Sprout a sack, America. Cool.
How dare you?
How very dare you.